Story recapped here. Today I'm gonna explain a horror film called Don't Let Her In. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. A lovely couple, Amber and Ben, welcome a new housemate in their apartment, Serena. Right away, Serena takes a liking to their beautiful space, so they start getting to know each other, finding out that Serena's job is making art pieces for clients by using gemstones and essential oils. On the other hand, Ben is a musician while Amber is a poster artist. After a small tour of the home, Amber asks Serena for some background information about her life, such as why she's moving and if she can get a recommendation from a previous landlord. However, Serena is a bit evasive, saying that she's moving because she used to live with her ex-boyfriend. Furthermore, she doesn't have anyone in her life that can vouch for her character, not even friends. Despite the suspicious background, Serena manages to persuade the couple by paying them 9 months in advance for the rent. Afterward, Amber asks why Serena is moving in with them if it seems like she can afford to live in a better place. So Serena explains that she just wants to get away from her old life, as she likes the vibes of Amber's place. During Serena's moving day, Ben leaves for a band gig, so she's left with Amber. There, Amber helps Serena set up her work equipment and tells her about gemstones. When Amber picks up one of Serena's idols, Serena immediately raises her voice, telling Amber to be careful because it's the most valuable thing she owns. Furthermore, she says it was a gift from her ex-boyfriend. That night, Amber hears mysterious chanting from Serena, so she comes to check up on her. There, she sees Serena hunched over their shelf, and when Amber asks her about it, Serena simply says she was singing. Then she gives Amber a gift, a bowl made of different gemstones that symbolize different things. Afterward, the two hang out over a movie and start getting to know each other more. Amber shares that she longs to have a child someday. The next day, Serena hands Amber a drink of her secret formula for health and creativity. Suddenly, Amber gets a call about an amazing job offer to make a poster for Serena's art exhibit. Thinking that it was her idea, Amber tells Serena that she didn't need to do that, but Serena simply says she just mentioned Amber, but it was the gallery's idea to hire her. So the two immediately work on shots for the poster. That night, Amber notices a mysterious man watching their apartment outside. When she goes to sleep, Serena stands over Amber's body while chanting. Just then, Amber opens her eyes to see a demonic version of Serena, but it turns out to be a nightmare. Because of this, Serena rushes over to her side with concern. Then Amber confesses that she has an anxiety disorder that gives her bad dreams and that she's been off her medication for a while. Hence, Serena offers to sleep beside her so she can calm down. Amber feels embarrassed when she wakes up, but Serena reassures her that it's all right. Then she gets back to working on Serena's poster. Afterward, Ben returns home from his gig and starts smelling something stinky. However, Amber doesn't smell anything bad. Then Ben notices Serena's art piece gift for the house and says it's weird. When Amber asks about Ben's trip for the gig, he proudly catches her up and gives Serena a merch t-shirt. Serena wears it right in front of the couple, showing herself bare. But when Ben asks to take a picture for Instagram, Serena immediately backs away, saying she doesn't want to be on social media. Despite the defensiveness, Amber explains that it's probably because she's running away from her ex. Before bedtime, Amber warns Ben to be careful of Serena because she seems weird, but Ben just thinks she's being jealous. When Amber falls asleep, Ben wakes up to see Serena climbing on top of him. Then she starts riding him while Amber is asleep merely inches away from them. While Ben loses himself in the pleasure, he doesn't notice that Serena's face morphs into one of a demon's, nor the fact that she backs away in a weird walk. The following day, Ben looks for Amber, but he comes across Serena instead. She tells him that she didn't tell Amber about what happened, and despite Ben trying to stop it, Serena keeps him wrapped up in her palm. So Ben just asks how Serena was able to make him climax so intensely, but she doesn't reveal her secrets. Afterward, Ben notices Amber working on the Serena poster and says she looks amazing. Of course, Serena doesn't fail to hear the compliment. Just as Serena leaves for work, Amber scolds Ben, noticing that he looks at Serena with clear interest. Ben brushes her off, denying any attraction. However, Amber mentions that she knows about Ben sleeping around during his music gigs. Although Ben denies it, Amber simply says that sleeping with Serena would be the final straw. Ben assures her that it'll never happen, even though it already did. To calm himself down, Ben starts playing music but stops when he gets a sudden call. Meanwhile, Amber looks around Serena's workstation, only to run back to Ben when she hears him exclaiming in joy. It turns out he got a record deal from a famous music label. Furthermore, they're offered a 4-week tour starting that very day. Although Amber is very happy and proud of Ben, she's a bit sad that he must leave right away. He offers to take her with him but then changes his mind after mentioning that the bus is full. Later on, Ben immediately leaves for the tour, not set to come back after a month. Afterward, Amber vents to Serena about Ben, feeling unfulfilled in their relationship because Ben prioritizes his career. Although Serena understands Ben's situation, she also doesn't fail to lift Amber's spirits, telling Amber that she doesn't need a man and that she's an artist of her own. Furthermore, Serena advises her to pour herself into her work. While Amber tries to clear her head outside, she comes across the mysterious man that's been lurking outside their house, so she runs back inside and tells Serena about him. Right away, Serena knows who the man is, Elias, and reassures Amber that she'll make him stay away. That night, Amber finishes the poster, feeling magnetized towards Serena's allure. Although Amber tries to deflect her touch, Serena doesn't shy away from kissing her, so Amber doesn't protest anymore. Right away, Serena brings her to bed and starts touching Amber. Again, because of the intense amount of pleasure, Amber doesn't notice Serena's demon face and the way she backs away in a hunched walk. The next morning, Amber feels weird about what they did, but Serena sets her mind at ease, saying that they're two consenting adults. Furthermore, Amber mentions that it was her most intense climax ever, the same feedback that Ben gave. Afterward, Amber swears her to secrecy, hoping that Serena doesn't tell Ben. Then Serena mumbles that she slept with Ben before sleeping with her. When Amber hears her words, she immediately gets irate. However, Serena gaslights Amber into thinking she said something different, so Serena just gives her another one of her secret formula drinks. When Amber mentions that she's getting gassy from the drink, Serena just tells her that it's a good thing. That day, while the two work on their separate workstations, Amber isn't as bothered by Serena's chanting anymore. That night, Amber is on a video call with Ben to catch up with each other. Suddenly, Serena exclaims in anger, noticing that Elias is lurking out their window again. So Serena stomps outside, but not before telling Amber to stay inside no matter what she hears. With curiosity filling her, she goes to the window to watch the situation unfold. Seeing Elias, Amber assumes that he must be Serena's ex-boyfriend, so Ben asks to see what's going on. When Serena angrily walks toward Elias, he immediately starts backing up, telling him to stay away from her. Furthermore, she starts chanting again, trying to send him away. Amber asks whether Ben hears her chanting, but he doesn't, so Amber feels worried that she might just be hearing things and thinks she needs to get back into medication. When Serena returns upstairs, Amber compliments her for being so brave. Albeit acting a bit weirdly, Serena assures Amber that Elias won't come back to bother them anymore. The next day, Serena is back to doing work while Amber is busy with her own. Suddenly, Amber hears a hushed whisper calling out to her, but doesn't see anyone outside. That night, Serena checks on Amber, who tells her that she can't sleep. Right away, Serena climbs on Amber once more and starts to touch her, but instead she grabs Amber's stomach. When Amber jumps in pain shock, Serena ecstatically tells her that she's pregnant. Despite being in disbelief because Amber knows she's on the pill, Serena is certain about the news. Amber takes a pregnancy test the next day, only to see that Serena is correct. Although Amber wanted a child, she didn't want it this soon, so Serena gives Amber another one of her secret drinks. After Serena leaves for work, Amber is left alone and she doesn't drink Serena's beverage. Before bed, Amber spends a bit of time talking to Ben on the phone. With just a few days left before their tour ends, Amber is excited to see Ben again. However, he states that he can't just go back home right away because they have to finish up other stuff for work. Because of this, Amber gets upset and hangs up on Ben. When she goes to sleep, Amber wakes up due to intense stomach pain. Just then, she hears Serena's chanting again, but this time she hears a male voice accompanying it. Thinking it's Ben, she slowly walks towards Serena's room, but she doesn't see anyone else but Serena doing some kind of ritual. When Serena turns her face towards her, Amber sees her demon face. But again, this simply seems to be another one of Amber's vivid nightmares. When she wakes up the next morning, she goes to her dresser, only to find Serena's gift hiding inside it. Scared, she drops it on the floor before calling out to Serena, but she isn't anywhere in the apartment, so she calls Ben instead, hoping that she can coerce him into coming home early. However, Ben is still adamant about continuing his work tour. Because of this, Amber confesses that she's noticing something strange about Serena. Thinking that it's just Amber's debilitating mental health, he urges her to just get back on medication. However, she mentions that Serena is freaking her out, thinking that she might be trying to hurt their incoming child. Surprised about the sudden reveal of Amber's pregnancy, Ben seems happy about the news and reassures Amber that they can be good parents. However, he still mentions that Amber will be mostly responsible for the child because he'll be focused on the band. Then Ben asks about Serena again. Hence, Amber points out her oddities, such as the chanting and the weird drink. Furthermore, Amber mentions that Serena told her about Ben's night of intimacy with Serena while Amber was asleep a few inches away from them. But of course, Ben denies the accusation. However, Amber doesn't believe his innocence and confesses that she slept with Serena too. But right now, the infidelity problems are the last thing of Amber's worries, and she just wants Ben to come back. Then Amber spots Ben outside the apartment, only to notice that he's gone. gone, so Amber runs back down to check. Unexpectedly, she comes across Elias instead. Therefore, Amber confronts him on her own. It turns out Elias just wants the weird-looking stone figurine from Serena, saying that she stole it from him. So Elias tells Amber to return the idol to him so she can save the world from eternal darkness. Weirded out, Amber asks Elias what's going on, but he tells her that the less she knows, the stronger she'll be. However, he mentions that a demon has possessed Serena. Furthermore, Elias advises her to make unbroken lines of salt and entry points to keep the demon at bay. Due to that, Amber immediately rushes upstairs to follow his orders. But just then, Serena gets home and encounters Elias. Knowing that he said something to Amber, she doesn't hesitate to stab him. Meanwhile, Amber hurriedly makes a salt barrier for every door in the apartment while Serena comes upstairs. Then Amber takes the idol to bring it to Elias. However, it's too late because she sees Serena coming up to the elevator, so she just starts salting the entry point instead. Just then, Serena starts acting innocent, asking about Amber, who runs away in fear. When Serena sees the salt, she stops for a bit but finds an opening she can walk across from, so she comes after Amber. However, Amber locks her inside a properly salted room so Serena can't walk in. Angry, she starts berating Amber, who's pleading for Serena to leave. Then she notices that the idol is gone and starts getting angrier. Amber immediately calls for Ben, but she gets sent to voicemail. With that, she calls 911 instead. However, Serena manages to magically hijack the call, telling Amber that no one can help her. After a while, Serena is still lurking outside her door, shouting in chants as she fails to cross because of the salt, but the apartment starts shaking. Just then, Ben gets home and sees Serena waiting outside the door, so she feigns innocence, saying that Amber is acting weird. Of course, Ben thinks it's just Amber's anxiety, so he tells her to open the door. When Amber tells Ben not to believe Serena because she is a demon, they just think she's being delusional, so Ben takes the key to the room. Suddenly, he notices the poster that Amber was making for Serena, but this time it's her demon face. When Ben gets back to open the door, he sees the salt line and thinks that Amber is being ridiculous. But when Amber mentions that Serena wants to hurt their baby, Serena suddenly morphs into her demon face, saying that it's not their baby but Serena's. Before he could react, Serena pulls out a knife and pushes Ben inside the room, successfully breaking the salt line. She starts coming closer, so Amber offers the idol. However, instead of stabbing the couple, Serena stabs herself. Just then, the demon possessing Serena starts transferring over to Amber. Right away, Ben is concerned that Serena is dead and wants to call the police. But the now possessed Amber says she'll take care of Serena's corpse, then starts eating it.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.